Welcome back, curious explorers, to Saltwater Stories. It's fantastic to have you with us again.
Great to be here.
Today, we're embarking on a truly incredible journey, one that takes us far, far beyond the sparkling surface, way down into the mysterious depths of our ocean.
Way down.
You might remember us talking about, the bustling life around a coral reef, or how scientists use amazing tools like ADNA to spot creatures without even seeing them.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Or even those cool robotic AUVs that explore hidden corners of the sea.
Autonomous underwater vehicles, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool tech.
Well, today's adventure connects right back to those ideas. It really shows us just how interconnected everything is in our amazing ocean.
It really does. Everything links up eventually.
Imagine a world where life is scarce. I mean, really scarce. Where food is rare. And yet, suddenly, out of nowhere, a colossal feast appears.
Like a giant underwater banquet showing up.
Exactly. Creating an entire bustling city of creatures where there was once only quiet darkness. It's a story of ultimate recycling, of new life blossoming from something truly
A
enormous.
cycle of life, even from death.
Are you ready for a mind-blowing tale from the deep? Get ready, because today we're unraveling the fascinating secrets of it's called a whale fall.
That's right. And when we talk about a whale fall, we're not just describing, a whale that has passed away and happened to settle on the ocean floor. It's much, much more than that.
Okay, more than just a carcass.
So absolutely. Think of it as an entire special ecosystem that literally blossoms around these huge remains. This massive delivery of food. It's like a giant natural larder just dropped into the deep, creates this incredible hotspot of life.
A hotspot in the cold darkness.
Precisely. Supporting all sorts of amazing organisms for years, decades even, maybe even up to a whole
What a
century.
century! Wow!
Yeah, the really enduring ones, the ones that last the longest, they come from the great whales. No, we're talking about those enormous baleen whales like blue whales, fin whales, humpbacks, gray
Well,
whales,
giants.
the true giants. Their sheer size is one thing, obviously. But just as important, maybe more important, are the rich fats, the lipids hidden deep inside their bones. That's the secret ingredient, really, for this long, multi-stage adventure of life.
Okay, an entire ecosystem. That's already mind-boggling. But what exactly happens for this incredible transformation to begin? I mean, how does such a massive creature, once full of life at the surface, even get to the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean floor to become the foundation of a new world? That's quite a trip down.
It's a critical journey, absolutely. And it starts the moment a whale passes away. Now, sometimes when a whale dies, gas from decomposition can build up inside its body.
Oh, so it floats.
It can, yeah. Makes it float temporarily. This might last for a few days, maybe. And during this time, yeah, it becomes a floating snack bar for surface dwellers, sharks, seabirds, things like that.
Okay, so some gets eaten at the surface.
This does. But for most of these large whales, especially if they haven't been eating much recently, their bodies are actually a little heavier, a bit denser than the ocean water. The temporary floating usually just comes from the air trapped in their lungs. So as waves move the body, or as scavengers nibble away, or even just as it starts to sink and the water pressure squeezes its chest.
The air gets pushed out.
Exactly. That air gets pushed out. And once that air is gone, the descent truly begins. It's pretty much unstoppable at that point, a one-way trip down.
And is it a slow drift down, or?
Usually it's surprisingly quick, and the carcass often arrives mostly whole, intact.
Really? Why's that?
Well, there just aren't that many creatures in the middle of the ocean column, the midwater zone, that are equipped to take big bites out of something so enormous during its travels down.
Yeah.
They're mostly smaller predators.
Okay, that makes sense. So it arrives mostly in one piece.
Largely, yes. And as it travels deeper, the conditions change drastically. Immense pressure.
Crushing pressure, right.
Hundreds of times the pressure at the surface. This pressure helps dissolve any remaining gases, so there's no chance of it floating back up. And then there's the temperature.
Freezing cold.
Near freezing. Often just above 0 degrees Celsius, maybe 32 Fahrenheit. It acts like a giant natural refrigerator, drastically slowing down any decay caused by bacteria.
So the pressure keeps it down and the cold preserves it.
Exactly. Those two things together, the pressure and the cold, they make sure that this huge store of energy, this massive whale, makes it all the way to the seafloor pretty much intact, ready to kickstart a whole new community.
It's like nature's perfect delivery system for a deep-sea feast. Like finding a giant sealed food package that only opens once it reaches its destination at the very bottom of a very cold, very deep fridge.
That's a great analogy. And yeah, these whale falls typically settle below 1,000 meters. It's about 3,300 feet. We're talking the baffle or even the abyssal zones.
Super deep, super dark.
Pitch black, crushing pressure, freezing cold. These harsh conditions are paradoxically exactly what allows the whale fall ecosystem to last so long.
Yeah.
If it landed somewhere shallower, warmer,
It'd be gone much faster.
oh, much faster. The bacteria would work faster, more scavengers could access it. It wouldn't have time to develop those later, really unique stages. The deep sea preserves it.
Which is amazing, considering how long people thought nothing could live down there at all.
You're absolutely right. It's funny to think back now, but in the 1800s, the common scientific idea was the azoic zone theory.
Azoic, meaning no life.
Exactly. They thought life couldn't exist below about 550 meters. Too dark, too cold, too much pressure. Just impossible, they figured.
But they were wrong.
Dramatically wrong. Expeditions like the HMS Lightning and especially the HMS Challenger in the 1870s started pulling up living organisms from incredible depths.
Like, how deep?
The Challenger brought stuff up from over 4,400 meters. That's nearly 3 miles down. It completely shattered the azoic theory. And that shift in thinking was vital. It opened scientists' minds to the possibility that, yes, life could flourish down there, even on something like a whale skeleton. It paved the way for discovering whale falls later on.
Isn't it amazing how the very harshness of the deep ocean helps create these bustling hot spots of life? It's like nature's way of preserving a giant meal for a very, very long time.
It really is a testament to adaptation, using the environment, even the extremes, to its advantage.
So a whale arrives largely intact at the bottom of the ocean, a colossal monument in the deep. But it's not just a static object, is it? You said it's like a dynamic stage where different acts play out over a very long time. What are these acts? How does this incredible transformation happen?
You've hit on a key point. It's not simple decay. The breakdown of whale carcass is this predictable sequence, these 4 main ecological stages, each with its own special community of organisms.
4 stages. And it can last a century.
Up to a century, sometimes even more. Yeah. It's a classic example of what ecologists call ecological succession.
Like how a forest regrows after a fire.
Kind of like that, yes. But instead of plants replacing plants, here it's different communities of animals and microbes exploiting this massive decaying resource. And crucially, each stage changes the environment, uses up the soft tissue, depletes oxygen, releases chemicals from the bones, setting things up perfectly for the next stage's specialists. It's really quite elegant.
Okay, stage 1. Who gets the first invitation to this deep sea banquet? I imagine some big hungry mouths.
Absolutely. The first act is the mobile scavenger stage. Within hours, literally hours, of the carcass settling, the deep sea's most powerful scavengers arrive.
How do they find it so fast in the dark?
Smell. An incredibly strong chemical scent, this plume of compounds drifting from the whale, acts like a giant dinner bell ringing across the ocean floor. It draws them in. This stage is a feeding frenzy focused on the soft tissues, the blubber and muscle.
So who are the main diners?
Sharks. Definitely sharks. Big ones like sleeper sharks, Samiosis pacificus, or Greenland sharks. They're often the first arrivals. They have these amazing jaws for tearing off huge chunks of flesh, even in the dark. And they're joined by swarms, sometimes hundreds, of hagfish, like Eptatretus diani.
Hagfish, aren't those the ones that tie themselves in knots?
That's them. They actually use that knot tying trick to get leverage. Helps them burrow deep into the carcass and rip off pieces. It's bizarre but effective.
That's incredible. Who else joins the party?
You also get rat-tailed fish. They're also called grenadiers, and lots of large invertebrates. Big crabs, squat lobsters, even deep-sea octopuses come to feast.
So it's a big rush at the start. How fast do they eat?
Incredibly fast. We've measured rates like 40 to 60 kilograms of tissue removed every day.
40 to 60 kilos, that's a lot.
It is. So a smaller whale, maybe around 5 tons, might be stripped pretty clean in just 4 to 6 months. But a giant, say a 35-ton whale, that could feed this scavenger community for 2 years, maybe even more.
Wow, that's a quick feast for the smaller ones, but a long buffet for the giants. So once the big eaters have had their fill and mostly moved on, what happens next? Do the smaller creatures get their turn?
Exactly. Once the large scavengers have taken the bulk of the soft tissue, the action shifts. Now it's all about the exposed bones and, very importantly, the sediment around the bones. That sediment is now super rich with organic bits and pieces dropped by the first wave of diners.
Leftovers, basically.
Leftovers and enrichment, yeah. This kicks off the enrichment opportunist stage, and here you see an explosion of smaller critters, often ones that burrow or stay put.
An explosion? Like, how many?
Well, get this. The seafloor right around the skeleton can become absolutely carpeted. Polychaete worms, for instance, tiny bristle worms. They can reach densities of 45,000 individuals in just 1 square meter.
45,000 in a space maybe the size of a small rug.
Something like that. Imagine tens of thousands of worms burrowing into the sediment, eating all those rich organic leftovers. It's teeming.
That's mind-boggling density. What else is that?
Lots of small crustaceans, isopods, amphipods, along with snails, juvenile clams.
Huh.
They all thrive in that nutrient-rich mud. And it's also during this stage that the first of those really weird bone-eating worms, the Osedax worms, start to arrive. They begin their slow work boring into the skeleton itself.
Osedax. We'll definitely need to talk more about them.
Oh, we will. Now, all this intense activity, especially from tiny microbes breaking things down, starts to use up the oxygen in the sediment around the bones.
Creating low oxygen conditions.
Exactly. Becomes anaerobic or oxygen depleted. And that chemical shift is critical because it sets the stage for the next very unique phase. This enrichment stage can last for several months, up to maybe 5 years.
It's incredible to think about how much life is teeming there, even when we can't see it directly. And this is where something like eDNA, which we've talked about before, could be so helpful, right?
No, precisely. You could collect water samples near the whale fall during this stage.
And analyze the DNA floating around.
Exactly. To see the genetic signatures of all those tiny burrowing creatures, even the microbes, that might be hard to spot with just a camera on an ROV. It gives you a much more complete picture of the biodiversity.
A genetic census. Very cool. Okay, so the oxygen starts to run out in the sediment. It sounds like a tough environment, but you said it sets the stage for something even more extraordinary.
Indeed. This third stage is the longest, the most diverse, and honestly the most amazing phase. It's called the sulfophilic stage, or the chemosynthetic stage.
Sulfophilic, meaning sulfur-loving.
That's right, because the energy source completely changes here. Instead of eating the whale's organic matter directly, like muscle or blubber, life now uses chemical energy to create food.
Chemical energy, not sunlight.
No sunlight at all. This is all thanks to that enormous amount of fats and oils, the lipids stored inside the whale's porous bones. Remember I said they could be over 60% lipid by weight.
Yeah, a huge amount, like a giant energy bar.
Exactly. So inside the bones where there's no oxygen, it's anaerobic special bacteria get to work. These are sulfate-reducing bacteria.
Okay, what do?
They break down those lipids. And as they do it, they use sulfate, which is naturally in seawater. The crucial part is, as a waste product, they produce hydrogen sulfide gas, H2S.
Hydrogen sulfide. That's the rotten egg smell, right?
Yeah.
And it's toxic.
It is. Toxic to most animals, including us. But for certain deep-sea microbes, it's food, it's energy. This sulfide gas then seeps out of the bones.
Creating a chemical hotspot.
A chemical oasis, exactly. And this is where chemosynthesis happens.
Chemosynthesis, making food from chemicals.
That's the essence of it. Chemosynthetic bacteria, often forming thick, white, or yellowish mats on the bones and sediment, use the chemical energy in that hydrogen sulfide. They combine it with carbon dioxide and a bit of oxygen from the surrounding water to make their own food, carbohydrates. It's kind of like photosynthesis, but using chemical energy instead of leash energy.
Life without the sun.
Powered by chemicals from bones. And this chemical-based food production then supports a whole new community. You get special mussels, clams, tube worms. They often have these chemosynthetic bacteria living inside their bodies in a symbiotic partnership.
So the bacteria make food, and the mussels or clams provide a safe home.
Exactly, a perfect partnership. And those Osedax worms we mentioned, the bone eaters, they really flourish in this stage too. This sulfophilic stage is the most species rich and can last for 50, maybe even 100 years, slowly consuming the bone's rich fat reserves.
50 to 100 years. Just incredible. And again, thinking about exploring this, an AUV, those autonomous underwater vehicles, they'd be perfect for studying this stage, wouldn't they?
Absolutely perfect. An AUV could map the site precisely, measure the chemical gradients, how much sulfide is coming out, or maybe even sample the water automatically.
Without disturbing the delicate community too much.
Exactly. They could navigate this unique environment, collect data over long periods, capture high-resolution images. They're invaluable tools for understanding these long-lasting chemical oases without needing a ship and an ROV there constantly.
Right. Okay, so what happens after potentially a century of these chemical-powered feasts? Does anything remain? Is there a stage 4?
Yes. The final stage is called the reef stage. But it's still largely theoretical in some ways because it takes so incredibly long to develop potentially centuries.
Centuries, wow.
After all the accessible organic material, especially those lipids in the bones, is finally gone, what's left is the mineralized skeleton itself. It's no longer really a food source.
So what is it then?
It becomes a physical structure, A hard surface. And in the vast, soft, muddy plains of the deep sea, any hard surface is extremely rare and valuable real estate.
Ah, something to attach to.
Exactly. Yeah. So the whale skeleton, now acting like a kind of skeletal reef, provides a stable place for other creatures to settle and grow. These are usually suspension feeders animals that filter food particles out of the water currents.
Like corals.
Deep sea corals, yes. Also things like glass sponges, sea anemones, crinoids, those feathery sea lilies, they use the bones to get up off the muddy bottom into the slight currents where they can catch food more easily.
So the whale's legacy continues, even after all the food is gone.
Precisely. Because of the immense time frames, we haven't really seen this stage fully develop in the whale falls we've studied in real time. But it shows that whales, even long after death, can have this geological scale impact, creating structures that enhance biodiversity for potentially hundreds, maybe thousands of years.
It's like a tiny city that completely changes its residents and its entire power source every few decades or centuries. Each stage is just a marvel of adaptation.
It truly is. A dynamic, efficient process showing how life grabs every opportunity in the deep sea.
From huge sharks to chemical-powered worms, the creatures of a whale fall are truly unique. Let's get to know some of these amazing deep-sea residents a bit better. Who are these specialists?
Well, the organisms you find are this fascinating mix, as we've touched on. You get the generalists, the opportunists who eat any big food fall, and then these highly evolved specialists, creatures that can only live in this specific, unique environment.
Okay, let's start back at stage 1. The first responders.
Right, the mobile scavengers. We mentioned the big shark sleepers and Greenland sharks, true apex predators of the deep, using smell to find the carcass, tearing off huge amounts of blubber.
And the hagfish.
Hagfish, like Eptotretus stiani, arriving in huge numbers, hundreds sometimes, using that incredible knot-tying trick to burrow right in. They're amazing survivors.
What else is common then?
Rat tails, or grenadiers, are very common fish picking at the tissues. Lots of different crabs, squat lobsters, isopods, amphipods, even octopuses join the feast. They're all adapted to finding these rare, large food pulses.
Okay, then after the big guys leave, the smaller colonizers move in for stage 2.
Exactly, the enrichment opportunists. Now, the focus is on the bones and the enriched sediment. This is where those polychaete worms like Victorniella floucati form those incredibly dense carpets we talked about, 45,000 per square meter.
Still can't get over that number.
It's staggering. They're processing all the fine organic particles. You also get lots of smaller crustaceans burrowing in the mud, isopods, amphipods again, plus various snails and tiny young clams, all feeding on the rich sediment scattered by the bigger scavengers.
So a carpet of worms and lots of little critters in the mud.
A very busy neighborhood. And this is also when the first Osedax worms, those bone eaters, start to appear, beginning their work.
Right, the Osedax. Let's talk about them. They sound like the real stars of the show, especially in stage 3.
They really are. The architects of the oasis, the chemosynthetic organisms, and Osedax, the zombie worms, are maybe the most famous.
Zombie worms? Why that name?
Well, partly because they look a bit strange, with feathery plumes sticking out, but mostly because of how they feed. They were only discovered in 2002 on a whale fall studied by MBRI.
So, quite recently.
Very recently, in scientific terms. And now we know of at least 37 different species. They are extreme specialists. The females, the visible ones, have no mouth and no gut.
No mouth, no stomach. How do they eat?
They have this unique root system. It's greenish and it grows into the bone. These roots secrete acid, dissolving the bone matrix.
Okay.
And inside these roots live symbiotic bacteria. They are the ones that actually digest the lipids and proteins released from the bone. The worm then absorbs the nutrients from the bacteria.
So the worm is basically outsourcing its digestion to bacteria living in its roots.
Precisely. It's eating the bone via its bacterial partners. It's an incredible symbiosis.
That's truly bizarre and amazing. What else is wild about them?
Their reproduction. The large females you see contain tiny microscopic males living inside their tubes, sometimes hundreds of them.
Hundreds of tiny males living inside the female.
Yeah. It's a very efficient way to ensure reproduction when your habitat is basically a random skeleton on the seafloor. Maximize your chances.
Wow. Okay. Who else is a key player in this chemosynthetic stage?
We also have those chemosymbiotic mussels and clams, general like Itis or Vesicomyidae. Like Osedax, they rely on bacteria.
But these live in their gills, right?
Correct. Bacteria live inside their gills using the hydrogen sulfide coming from the bones to make food, which then nourishes the mussel or clam. A perfect internal partnership. They can form really dense beds on the whale fall.
So the worms drill into the bones, the mussels filter the chemical-rich water. It's a whole ecosystem built on bone-eating and sulfur-loving microbes.
That's a great summary. And don't forget other specialists like the bone-eating snail, Rubispira osteovora. It literally scrapes the bone surface.
A snail that eats bone. Okay, then eventually, if the bones last long enough for stage 4.
Long-term residence for the skeletal reef community. This is where slow-growing suspension feeders take over, using the bones purely as a place to live. Deep-sea corals, glass sponges, sea anemones, they attach to the hard structure to filter food from the water.
Providing habitat long after the food is gone.
Exactly. Enhancing biodiversity just by being there. And the overall diversity at a whale fall is incredible. A single large skeleton might host around 185 different species of larger animals.
185 species on one skeleton.
On average, yes. And globally, scientists have documented over 400 species associated with whale falls. That's comparable to the diversity found at hydrothermal vents.
That's amazing. Are many of them unique to whale falls?
Yes, at least 21 species are thought to be obligate specialists. They live only on whale falls and nowhere else. This tells us that whale falls have been around long enough and are important enough for evolution to create species specifically adapted just for them.
Imagine evolving just to live on a whale skeleton deep beneath the sea. It's like these whale falls are secret laboratories for evolution, pushing life in directions we never imagined.
They absolutely are. Each discovery seems to reveal a new, ingenious adaptation for life in this extreme but surprisingly rich environment. It constantly expands our definition of what's possible.
These amazing creatures, especially in those later stages, rely entirely on that invisible chemical process. Let's explore that chemical engine a bit more. How does it really work, this life without sunlight?
You're right. Understanding the chemistry is key to understanding the longevity and uniqueness of the whale fall. Tiny microbes are the real heroes, the engineers running this engine.
Microbes driving the whole thing.
Fundamentally, yes.
Yeah.
In the early stages, various bacteria break down the soft tissues, but the crucial long-term action happens inside the bones during that sulfophilic stage.
Inside the bones where there's no oxygen.
Exactly. In that anaerobic environment, specialized sulfate-reducing bacteria take over. They metabolize those abundant lipids, the fats and oils stored in the bone matrix.
Okay.
To do this, they use sulfate ions from the seawater, and the critical output, their waste product, is hydrogen sulfide gas, H2S. Vast amounts of it.
And that sulfide is the fuel for the next step.
Precisely. It's the key energy source. We've measured incredible rates of this sulfide production, sometimes as high as 717 millimoles per square meter per day near the carcass. That's a lot of chemical energy being released. It creates this sulfide-rich zone, chemically similar, as I mentioned, to hydrothermal vents or cold seeps.
So it's a powerful chemical factory down there. Is sulfide the only thing being produced?
No, there's also methanogenesis happening, especially in the super-rich sediments right underneath the carcass.
Methane production, like swamp gas?
Sort of, yeah. Methanogenic archaea, another type of microbe, can make up maybe 40% of the microbial cells there. They produce methane gas, CH4, and that methane becomes another energy source that other specialized bacteria can use.
So you've got sulfide and methane being produced by different microbes.
Which then become the fuel for the chemosynthetic microbe.
Right, the chemosynthesis part. How does that work again?
Okay, so these chemosynthetic bacteria are the primary producers here. They take the chemical energy stored in the hydrogen sulfide, or sometimes methane, and they use it to convert carbon dioxide from the water into organic compounds, basically food, carbohydrates.
Like plants use sunlight for photosynthesis.
It's the same fundamental principle, fixing carbon to create organic matter, but using chemical energy instead of light energy. A simplified way to think about the sulfide-based version is CO2 plus hydrogen sulfide plus a bit of oxygen yields food, like CH2O, plus sulfur plus water.
Okay, I think I get it. They're harnessing chemical reactions to build life.
Exactly. And this forms the base of that whole complex food web in stages 3 and 4. These bacteria form mats that animals graze on, and they live inside those specialized mussels, clams, and worms, feeding them directly. It's a completely self-contained ecosystem powered by the decaying whale bone.
It's like a factory that runs entirely on the chemicals leaking out of the bones instead of needing sunlight. Amazing. How do these whale fall factories compare to, say, hydrothermal vents?
That's a great comparison. Whale falls are considered one of the 3 main types of deep-sea chemosynthetic ecosystems, along with hydrothermal vents and cold seeps.
Okay, what's the main difference?
The origin of the chemicals. Vents and seeps are geological. Vents are driven by volcanic heat, releasing hot, mineral-rich fluids from the Earth's crust. Seeps involve methane and sulfide slowly leaking from sediments. Whale falls are biogenic. The energy comes from the breakdown of biological material, the whale itself.
Different source, but similar chemicals.
Often, yes, especially the hydrogen sulfide. The chemical environment can be surprisingly similar, and because of that, they share some inhabitants.
Creatures living at both vents and whale fall.
Absolutely. About 11 to 20% of the species found at whale falls are also found at vents or seeps. Things like those chemosymbiotic mussels and clams, similar types live in all three environments. It suggests these creatures can disperse between these different deep-sea oases.
Like chemical stepping stones across the ocean floor.
That's one leading hypothesis, yes. Whale falls might act as crucial intermediate habitats, allowing these specialized species to spread between the more permanent vent and seep sites.
And the sheer amount of energy a whale fall represents. You said it's huge for the deep sea.
It's enormous. A 40-ton whale might drop about 2 million grams of organic carbon onto just 50 square meters of seafloor.
2 million grams. How much is that in context?
Think about marine snow, that constant, slow drizzle of tiny organic particles from the surface. That same 50 square meter area might only receive that much carbon from marine snow over maybe 100 to 200 years.
So a whale fall delivers centuries worth of food instantly.
In geological terms, yes. It's like getting 2,000 years worth of the normal background carbon supply delivered all at once to one tiny spot. Plus, the skeleton alone might hold 2,000 or 3,000 kilograms of lipids, fueling that chemosynthetic stage for up to a century. It's a massive energy injection.
So a single whale's passing provides the energy equivalent of thousands of years of normal deep-sea food for that local patch. It's like finding a giant hidden battery pack dropped in the middle of nowhere. It just completely changes the neighborhood.
Precisely. It transforms a typically sparse deep-sea plain into a thriving, complex metropolis for decades, profoundly shaping the local ecosystem.
Knowing all this, how did scientists even discover such a hidden, intricate world? Exploring thousands of meters down must have been and must still be incredibly challenging.
It absolutely is. It's a story of persistence, some luck, and definitely driven by technological advances. The very first hints were actually quite old. Back in 1854, someone found a new species of mussel attached to a piece of floating whale blubber.
Floating blubber, okay.
And then over the next 100 years or so, deep-sea trawlers, dragging nets on the bottom, would occasionally pull up whale bones covered in strange creatures. So there are these scattered clues hinting that something special was happening with these bones down there.
But no one had seen a whole one in action.
Not really, no. The first direct observation of a whale skeleton on the deep-sea floor was actually by the U.S. Navy submersible Trieste II on February 19, 1977. They found a gray whale skeleton off California.
What did it look like?
It was stripped bare, which was important evidence showing how powerful the scavengers were, but it didn't reveal the chemosynthesis part, the later stages.
Okay, so when did that discovery happen, the aha moment?
That game changer came in 1987. A team led by Dr. Craig R. Smith from the University of Hawaii using the famous submersible Alvin.
Alvin, I've heard of Alvin.
Yeah, a legendary submersible. They were diving off California around 1,240 meters deep, and they found a whale skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
This one wasn't bare. It was covered in thick bacterial mats, clams, mussels, snails, teeming with life.
The whole chemosynthetic community.
Exactly. And crucially, Smith and his team realized these creatures were likely hosting chemosynthetic bacteria, just like the ones recently found at hydrothermal vents. His 1989 paper in Nature fundamentally redefined whale falls as these amazing chemosynthetic ecosystems.
So Dr. Smith really pioneered this whole field of study. And what about the tools they use now? We've mentioned ROVs and AUVs.
Absolutely. Dr. Craig Smith is rightly called the father of whale fall ecology. His work, often with Dr. Amy Bako, laid the foundation. And institutions like MBRI, the Monterey Bay Big Aquarium Research Institute, have been huge leaders, especially with their advanced ROVs. They're the ones who discovered the Osedax worms, remember?
Right, using ROVs.
Exactly. Studying these environments is incredibly tough. ROVs, remotely operated vehicles like MBR's Tiburon or NOAA's Deep Discover, and human-occupied vehicles, HOVs like Alvin, are the workhorses.
What can they do down there?
They have amazing high-def cameras, robotic arms to collect samples, rocks, mud, even delicate organisms and sensors to measure temperature, chemicals, currents, everything. There are eyes and hands in the deep.
And the AUVs, the autonomous ones.
Yes, AUVs are becoming increasingly important. They can survey large areas efficiently, and imagine future AUVs equipped with AI.
AI. To do what?
To potentially recognize whale falls automatically. They could survey vast tracts of the seafloor, find these rare sites independently, and collect initial data. That would massively speed up discovery.
That sounds like science fiction becoming reality. But you mentioned natural whale falls are rare and unpredictable. How do scientists study the whole process if they just have to wait to stumble upon one?
That's a really good point.
Right.
It's hard to study succession if you only find things partway through. So scientists came up with a clever solution: artificial whale falls.
Artificial, like fake whales.
Not fake whales, but real whale carcasses that they intentionally sink. They get whales that have stranded and died naturally, attach hundreds, sometimes thousands, of kilograms of steel weights.
To make sure they sink.
Exactly. And then they carefully deploy them in specific deep-sea locations they want to study.
Why do that?
It allows them to study the entire process from day one. They know exactly when it arrives, so they can track colonization, see how fast each stage progresses, measure the chemical changes precisely over time. It turns a rare event into a controlled experiment.
That's ingenious. A way to guarantee you can study the whole timeline.
It's provided invaluable data. But studying the live organisms is still tough. The pressure change coming to the surface is lethal for many deep-sea creatures. Their bodies just can't handle it. So a lot of work still relies on remote observation and preserved samples.
So it's like ocean detectives using amazing robots, sometimes placing their own clues with artificial falls, and using tools like eDNA to get genetic fingerprints, all to understand these hidden worlds.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's this combination of technology, clever experiments, and different scientific disciplines all working together to piece together the story.
We've explored what whale falls are, the incredible stages, the creatures, the chemistry, how they're studied. Now, let's zoom out. What's their role in the bigger ocean picture? How do they connect to ocean health and maybe even climate?
Their impact is definitely broader than just that local patch of seafloor. For one thing, they aren't just scattered randomly. They tend to be concentrated in certain areas.
Like where?
Along major migration routes, think the Pacific coast, where gray whales, blue whales, humpbacks travel. Also in rich feeding grounds, like the Arctic and Antarctic, and near breeding areas, like Hawaii.
So where the whales are, you find more falls. Makes sense.
It does, and sometimes you find surprising hotspots. That survey off Southern California and the San Pedro Basin, they found up to 60 whale falls in a relatively small area, about 350 square miles.
60? That's a lot. Why so many there?
Probably a combination of high whale traffic passing through and the fact that the deep water there is naturally low in oxygen.
And low oxygen helps preserve the skeletons longer.
Exactly, so they accumulate over time. These hotspots are really important as potential stepping stones for those specialist species to disperse across the deep sea.
But thinking of the past, before whaling, there must have been vastly more of these hotspots, these stepping stones.
Oh, absolutely. This is the really sobering part. Industrial whaling was catastrophic, reducing global populations of gray whales by maybe 66% to 90%. Some species, like Antarctic blue whales, were pushed to near extinction.
90% reduction.
It's staggering. We estimate there are maybe 690,000 large whale carcasses on the seafloor today, globally, spaced roughly 12 kilometers apart on average.
Okay.
But before whaling, there might have been 3 to 5 times more whales. Imagine how many more whale falls there were. The density must have been much higher.
So losing all those whales meant losing countless deep-sea ecosystems.
Yes. The loss of whale falls due to whaling is considered one of the earliest major human impacts on the deep sea, and it likely caused what we call silent extinctions.
Silent extinctions.
Species that depended solely on whale falls might have gone extinct before we even knew they existed, simply because their habitat vanished. We'll likely never know what was lost.
That's deeply tragic. Are whales still facing threats today that limit the number of falls?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Whale populations are recovering for some species, but they face ongoing threats. Ship strikes are a major killer, especially where shipping lanes cross migration routes.
Collisions with ships.
Yes, a leading cause of death for many large whales. Then there's pollution plastics, chemical contaminants, and entanglement in fishing gear. These all hinder recovery and reduce the potential number of natural whale falls.
And climate change must be affecting them too.
Definitely. Warmer oceans, melting ice. It changes where their food is. They might have to travel further, which causes stress. It can change migration patterns and therefore where whale falls occur.
And does climate change affect the whale fall site itself?
It could. Rising deep water temperatures or changing oxygen levels could impact those sensitive chemosynthetic communities, maybe shortening how long they last or changing which species can live there. It's all interconnected.
Whales seem so crucial, even in death. Do they play a role while alive in things like climate regulation?
They play a huge, often underappreciated role. Whales are massive animals. A great whale can store around 33 tons of CO2 equivalent in its body over its long life,
33 tons of CO2.
stored in its biomass. When that whale dies and sinks to the deep sea, a whale fall, that carbon is effectively locked away, sequestered from the atmosphere for centuries, maybe millennia.
So whale falls are natural carbon sinks.
Significant natural carbon sinks. Helping rebuild whale populations is actually being discussed as a nature-based solution to help mitigate climate change. More whales mean more carbon stored in the deep ocean.
Wow, that's amazing. Do they help in other ways?
They do. Through something called the whale pump. Whales often feed deep down, but they come to the surface to breathe and to poop.
Whale poop, important.
Very important. Their feces are rich in nutrients like iron and nitrogen, especially in areas where those nutrients are scarce at the surface. This fertilizes phytoplankton, those tiny ocean plants.
And phytoplankton absorb CO2.
Huge amounts. They're the base of the marine food web and crucial carbon absorbers. So whales, by fertilizing them, boost the ocean's ability to capture carbon.
The whale pump, I like that.
And there's more. Through their long migrations, whales transport these nutrients across entire ocean basins. That's called the whale conveyor belt. They're basically giant swimming fertilizer spreaders.
So they're ecosystem engineers, both in life and in death.
Absolutely. And this deep ecological importance is also reflected in how many cultures view whales. When we talk about artificial whale falls for science, it's good to remember that for many indigenous peoples, whales aren't just animals.
How so?
They're seen as kin, as ancestors, as powerful spiritual beings. For the UN people in Australia, for example, a stranded whale is sometimes seen as a willing sacrifice, a gift. Their traditions around using every part respectfully emphasize reciprocity and a deep connection that goes beyond just ecology. It adds another layer to the significance of these incredible animals.
It's truly astonishing. These magnificent creatures supporting life while alive through the whale bump, then creating entire ecosystems after they pass, and even helping regulate our planet's climate by storing carbon. Protecting whales isn't just about saving a species, is it? It's about protecting a whole planetary process.
Beautifully put. Their story really underscores the profound, often hidden connections within our planet's systems. Everything links together in ways we're still discovering.
This has been an absolutely incredible exploration of the whale fall, from its very first moments to its lasting impact. Just wow, what an extraordinary journey we've been on today. From that moment, a colossal whale begins its final silent descent to the amazing 4 stages of life it sparks in the abyss, all the way to its vital role in cycling carbon and its deep cultural meaning. The whale fall is truly one of the ocean's most spectacular and hidden wonders.
It really is.
It connects so many things we've talked about: microbes, robots, global climate. Just amazing.
It really highlights how nothing in nature is wasted, how life finds a way, adapting with incredible ingenuity, even in the most extreme places. These deep-sea oases remind us how interconnected everything is and how resilient the ocean can be.
What seems like an ending is really a spectacular new beginning.
Exactly, a cycle of renewal.
We really hope you've enjoyed uncovering the astonishing story of the whale fall with us today. It's just such a powerful testament to the idea that even in death, a great life can contribute so much, shaping our world in ways we're only just beginning to fully grasp.
Absolutely.
As you go about your day, maybe just take a moment to think about all those unseen processes happening beneath the waves, constantly shaping our world. What other amazing natural cycle, maybe just as vital and complex as the whale fall, are going on right now, completely out of sight? Something to ponder.
Always more mysteries down there.
Thank you so much for joining us for this incredible story. We hope you loved learning about it as much as we loved sharing it with you.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time on Saltwater Stories.